What's up, gang? These are prison stories by prison writers. This is a story by Shawn Harris. Traumatized children are the seeds of society's malevolence. Untreated, they will become the victimizers, predators, and murderers of tomorrow. The good thing is, this future is not a fact, because it has not yet occurred. But the fact is, if you dig around in any convicted felon's childhood, from any county or demographic, you will of a certainty find much trauma. And not just one type of trauma, multiple traumas, chronic trauma, over a sustained period. Sure, there are felons who don't have a history of trauma, but their number is so small it doesn't even register as a percentage when taking into account those who do. The truth is, prisons are filled with men and women whom society failed a long time ago. When they are traumatized children, whether by the parents, the teachers, the social workers, the congregation, the police, or the politicians, they were not protected. But that is a truth that society is not ready to accept. So, let's deal with some acceptable truths. The National Child Trauma Stress Network ran a survey in 2001 in collaboration with 17 sites and 150 centers where young children either visited or were housed. This survey was led by UCLA and Duke University. 2,000 children were surveyed, and here were some of the results. 50% reported being emotionally abused by a caregiver. Nearly 50% had temporarily lost a caregiver due to jail or treatment programs. Nearly 50% reported witnessing domestic violence, and 25% were victims of sexual and/or physical abuse. Now let's go deeper down the truth rabbit hole. In another survey, this time focused on inner-city children in high crime areas, conducted by Bell and Jenkins in 1993, they found 65% of school-aged children reported witnessing serious assault. 33% of them had witnessed a homicide. 23% of them were threatened with a knife, and 11% of them had been shot at. In yet another survey of 6th graders in high-crime urban areas, in 1996 they found 46% of them had witnessed a robbery, 55% of them had witnessed a stabbing, and 24% of them were caught in gun crossfire. It is clear that society has a problem protecting its children, while most of its attention is on protecting borders, elections, and personal wealth, all of which are notable causes. Ignoring or failing to protect its most vulnerable is its most profound delinquency. It is a consequence of the individualism this society continues to embrace and identify with. It is no longer we the people. It is me, you, and them. Let's imagine that we care less about the immediate now, the instant recognition, the instant money, the instant pleasure, and instead we were focused on our future as a society. Understanding that we have to protect our children, we must focus on areas in most need, where the problem is most urgent, where help and support can be most effective. If we connect the dots from the statistics in the surveys of children with traumatic experiences to the statistical fact that blacks make up 40% of the prison population in this country, yet make up only 12 to 15% of the residential population, the picture becomes clear. The percentage of blacks living in high-crime urban areas is substantial. But first, let's take a step back. The link between traumatized children and adverse adult behavior can be fully clarified through the statistics in a study by the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority Center for Justice Research and Evaluation. 163 women in an Illinois prison were surveyed, and 61% of them met the criterion for PTSD. The West Care Foundation conducted a similar survey with 163 male inmates, and 24% met the criterion for PTSD. 99% of the men had experienced at least one traumatic experience in their lifetime, and 61% had witnessed at least one. In the county jail, 97% of male inmates reported personally experiencing at least one traumatic experience in their lifetime. In a 2017 report from the U.S. Department of Justice, 37% of people in prison have a history of mental health problems. More than 24% have been previously diagnosed with major depressive disorders, 17% with bipolar disorder, 13% with personality disorder, and 12% with PTSD. One might say that incarcerated people are susceptible to traumatic experiences due to their location, and these statistics do not specify childhood trauma. So allow me to share with you what I have witnessed during my incarceration. I am a board-certified peer specialist and recovery specialist in a Pennsylvania prison. A certified peer specialist in Pennsylvania must perform 75 hours of training before becoming certified and must receive additional monthly educational units. We are the most well-trained in the country. In 2020, at the start of the COVID lockdown, I was assigned to the intake quarantine block at my prison. Every 15 to 20 days, we would receive a new shipment of inmates, some from classification and some straight from their homes. We had a detox cell where some of them had to be placed and washed as they came down off the high. We were on a 22-2 lockdown. 22 hours lockdown, 2 hours out of the cell. But I was allowed out of my cell throughout the day to talk with the guys who needed someone to talk to. If needed, I could get my fellow inmate out of his cell and take him to a small room where we could talk in private. The officers were well accommodating and made my job easy. Because we were on lockdown, you can imagine everyone wanted to talk. Over that 2-year period, I probably spoke with more than 100 inmates. The inmates were from just about every demographic. At the height of the pandemic, the men coming into the jail were so emotionally raw and surprisingly eager to open up to me. If I had to place a percentage on it, I'd say 95% of those men at some point in our discussions expressed to me that they were molested as a child. I was so stunned by what I was hearing that I actually contacted a nearby college, seeking support to do an official survey. It was a revelation to me. It also hit home because I was also abused as a child. White men, black men, Hispanic men, rural, urban, middle class, poor, drug dealers, drug addicts, type A personalities, type B personalities, and everything in between. We all had similar experiences. I felt like I was among kindred souls, all of whom had been on the same life trajectory as me, which began with early childhood trauma. In a 2003 study, they found the vast majority of youths living in high poverty settings were exposed to severe forms of violence in the community, either directly or indirectly. After having established the link between prison and childhood trauma, let's move forward towards imaging a better future. High crime urban areas need to be the focus. More importantly, the children in those areas. If we want to tackle crime and mass incarceration, the work must begin at the point of impact. If the home is supposed to be ground zero for a child's protection and nurturing, what happens when the home is a crack house or a hub of domestic violence and drug use? Or when the single parent is not around because they are too busy working an 8 to 6 job, making just over minimum wage? Or when the single parent themselves is a child of trauma and is, among many things, emotionally detached from the child? How does that child get what it needs to become a healthy, organized adult? Under normal circumstances, and by normal circumstances, I mean humanely and morally, the whole of society would provide children in these situations the tools necessary for them to succeed and recover from trauma. Such is the case when money is sent to an impoverished nation consumed by war and famine. That is a good thing, no doubt. But when the conversation shifts to inner cities and the conditions therein, the voices go mute. $1 trillion. I wonder how much $1 trillion can do to improve the lives of traumatized inner city children. Art is an excellent, cost-efficient way to help children recover from trauma, and at the same time improve their lives and enrich their futures. I don't believe that art can change things, but art can prepare people for change. It can be educational and persuasive to people's thinking. Creativity is the antidote for violence and destruction. Public schools in high-crime urban areas need to focus more on the reclamation effect of artistic expression. Public schools need to become more like the schools of performing arts, where equal attention is paid to artistic intelligence as it is to academics. Trauma silences you, it disconnects you from yourself and from the world around you. Art gives you a voice, multiple voices. It connects you to that self that trauma stole from you and to the world around you. Acting, dancing, and various arts need to be a part of the curriculum in these public schools to compensate for the lack of the opportunity and effective ways to recover from the trauma these children face on a daily basis. The greatest hope for traumatized, abused, and neglected children is to receive a good education in schools where they are seen and known, where they learn to regulate themselves, and where they can develop a sense of agency. Schools can play a significant role in instilling the resilience necessary to deal with the traumas of neighborhoods and families. These locations are hot points. They are places where the problem is most severe. The public school system in these high-crime urban areas are underfunded and ill-equipped to deal with the amount of traumatized children pouring into their classrooms. But with trillion-dollar funding, those places can become institutions of education, mentorship, and recovery. They can become the front line in the offensive against inner-city crime, and indeed nationally. Relationships can be fostered between law officials and the children, trust can be built, communication established. The crazy thing is, we've done these very same things in foreign countries, and they've worked. Why not here? The effects of such an investment will mean less inner-city children grow up to become felons, more become educated tax-paying citizens, drug use wands, the recidivism rate lowers, crime lowers, and these urban areas become the future envisioned by its leaders and activists. Stronger families, stronger communities, stronger leaders, and a stronger country. Who wouldn't want that? The problem is that people shrink the issue down to being simply about race, when in fact, it is about us all.